Okay, so I promised we'd pick up right at Genesis 1:11, and here we are. So we're talking about God and the trees. So verse 11, and God said, let the earth put forth tender vegetation, plants yielding seed, and fruit trees yielding fruit whose seed is in itself, each according to its kind, upon the earth. And it was so. We could spend weeks on verse 11. And maybe we'll get to do that one day. Verse 12, so the earth brought forth vegetation, plants yielding seed according to their own kind, and trees doing what? Bearing fruit, in which was their seed according to its kind. And God saw that it was good. He approved it. Oh, it's jumping off the page. So we know from what we just read that God created by his words. He commanded trees to do what? Bear fruit. The intent, what God's design, is that a tree would produce fruit. And not just that it would produce fruit, but he says that the fruit trees yielding fruit whose seed is in itself. So, self-sustaining multiplication. If you ever, it's not a tree. Well, we'll go with this. So my great big pecan tree in the back. Last year I've never seen so many pecans that we picked up. But do you know what the seed is for the pecan tree? It's a pecan. So that nut is actually a seed. And so I have actually found little bitty pecan trees sprouting up in places. I should find you one. And I've pulled them up, and you can see the shell, the pecan, is popped open, and the sprouts coming out the bottom, which would be the taproot, is coming out the bottom, and there's a tree coming out the top. So if you look at my one tree, it's just one. It's a big tree. It's just big tree, but it's only one. And how many thousands of pecans come off of that tree every year? I'm not talking about over the lifespan of the tree. I'm talking about in one season. In one season, how many pecans come off of that tree? And those pecans are seeds. That's multiplication. That's how God said, be fruitful and multiply and fill up the earth. And when God said for the tree to produce, it's been producing ever since. The trees have been producing. They've been producing fruit, producing seed, producing more trees. And that is exactly what God calls us to do. If he's likening us to this tree, he says, and he shall be like a tree firmly planted and tended by streams of water, ready to bring forth its fruit. There are things that God has put inside of you when he knit you together in his mother's womb. Shall we go there to Psalm 139, verses 14 and 15? We read this to Joseph this week too. Where God said, or the psalmist says, I will praise you. Verse 13, for you did form my inward parts, and you knit me together in my mother's womb. I will confess and praise you, for I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Marvelous are your works, and that my soul knows right well. My frame was not hidden from you when I was being formed in secret and intricately and curiously wrought, as if embroidered with various colors in the depths of the earth. Your eyes saw my unformed substance, and in your book all the days of my life were written before ever they took shape, when as yet there was none of them. There are things that God has designed in you, that he knit inside of you when you were growing in your mother's womb. And those things, those talents, those abilities, those gifts, qualities, That's to be your fruit. And God designed you, and you were created and born for such a time as this, for those giftings and those abilities, because he says, ready to bring forth its fruit in its season. There is a season for what God has put on the inside of you. And everything leading up to that season is growth and preparation. But there are things that he has knit, that he put on the inside of you, just like in the beginning, where he had a plan and a design for those trees, that he had a plan and a design for the fruit and the seed for multiplication and for filling the earth. He's got that plan for you, and he knit it inside of you while you were growing in your mom's womb. This is pretty cool. We'll pick up here tomorrow. I'll see you then. Bye, y'all.